Okay, here's a video number 1 for the exponential functions essential skills, a little bit of practice. These videos do accompany the worksheet that is also located on Schoology. Okay, so I'm going to follow my directions off to the side, and I'm just going to start with one equation at a time. So I'm going to do y is equal to 2 to the x. I'm going to go ahead and color code this guy green. All right, so if I take that equation, and I need to make a table out of this, so y equals 2 to the x. I want to make sure that one of the points that I have in here is definitely the y-intercept. So make sure that you plug 0 in to your table for x. And then the rest of the values are up to you. You can either choose to plug in only positive numbers, or you could plug in positive and negative numbers. I will probably do 1 and 2, and then also plug in a negative number, just so I can see what this looks like. Okay, so I'm going to plug those in. It's going to give me 2 to the 0. Well, anything to the 0 power is 1, except 0 to 0, but remember that's calculus, so we won't get to that this year. And then 2 to the 1 is 2. 2 squared is 4. And then 2 to the negative 1, I can just go back to the 2 to the 1 guy up here. And whatever you got for your answer, we can just flip it over. So if that is positive 2, then I'm just going to flip it over and it's a half. I'm going to go ahead and plot those points up here on my graph. And I did give you a whole bunch of little grids on here just in case you plugged in some pretty big numbers or got some pretty big numbers. So I'm going to use these minor grid lines. So there's 0, 1, and then I have 1, 2, and 2, 4, and then I'm going to plug in my negative 1, a half. Okay, so those are my points here. So kind of jumped the gun on this. So I do want to make sure that I have my horizontal asymptote on here. For us, the entire time, the horizontal asymptote this year, it will change in a couple of years for you guys when we do more complicated problems, is going to be right on top of the x-axis. Okay, so now here, we just want to get like a nice smooth curve. So I'm going to connect these guys. I'm going to hug that line. I need to connect the dots. And then this thing is going to take off. Okay, so there is my first graph. All right, let's go through and do the second one. I think I'm going to do this one in purple. So here's my second one. I'm going to make a table for myself again. So down here at the bottom, hopefully leaving myself enough room to write some comments about these. So I do need to describe what I'm seeing. Okay, 1/2 to the x power, and let's plug some values in. All right, definitely want to start with 0. And then I think I'm going to plug in the same numbers and then just see if maybe I want to do different ones instead. Okay, so I've got 1/2 to the 0 power, we know is just 1. 1/2 to the 1 power is just a half. 1/2 squared. Well, if you're going to use an exponent of 2, actually whenever you put an exponent on a fraction, you just put that exponent to the top and the bottom separately. So I would do 1 squared, which is 1, and then 2 squared, which is 4. Okay, so now if I do 1/2 to the negative 1, okay, just like what I did previously, I'm going to go to 1/2 to the positive 1 power right there. I'm going to take this answer. So I'll take that 1/2 there, and I'm just going to flip it over. So that's going to give me a 2. I think I'm going to plug in -2 just so I can get some more whole numbers to plot instead. Okay, so that's going to, all right, I'm going to go up to the positive 2 guy here, and I'm going to look at that answer of 1/4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that guy, and I'm just going to flip him over. So there's my 4. Okay, so I've got 0, 1. All right, so that's a point that they have in common. That's going to be something I want to identify or state. 1, a half is over here. All right, I don't think I want to plot the 2, so I will plot the -1, 2 though, and then the -2, 4. Make sure that you have your horizontal asymptote identified. Also still on top of the y-axis, the x-axis, my goodness. And then go ahead and connect the dots and get yourself a nice smooth curve here. All right, so that one kind of looks like that. And since I did color code, I shouldn't necessarily have to label, but I'm going to go ahead just in case I did this in just pencil. Go back and label the other guy as well. Okay, so a couple comments to make about this. Let's see, the green graph, if I go from left to right, looks like my y values are getting bigger. So I would say that the green one is growing exponentially. So here I'll just do some little markers here. So this one is growing exponentially. And the purple one, I would say, is shrinking exponentially, because my y values, as I go from the left to the right, are actually getting smaller. I would say that they both have in common the same y-intercept at 0,1. I would also say that they have the same horizontal asymptote and that would be at y equals 0, so it's on the x-axis. I would say that both of these are continuous graphs, since I get to connect the dots. What else would I say they have in common? I don't know. I think that probably covers it.